Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a strategy that promises the world, but, often just ends in frustration. I'm talking about total quality management. We're going to break down why it so often fails, and more importantly, give you the blueprint for a real breakthrough.
So let's just kick things off with a question. And be honest, does this hit a little close to home? Is quality just a buzzword where you work? Something you see on a poster in the break room, but it doesn't really connect to what you do every day? If you're kind of nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. And this explainer is exactly what you need.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll look at the big promise of TQM. Then, we're going to dig into where things usually go off the rails. After that, we'll lay out a real blueprint for a breakthrough. And finally, we'll see how that plan turns into an actual, tangible payoff. Okay, let's jump right into part one, the total quality promise. So what is this TQM thing anyway, and, why should you even care? So at its heart, TQM isn't some project you just do. It's really a whole philosophy. Think of it like weaving 3 key ideas into the very fabric of your company. Always getting better, being completely obsessed with your customers, and making sure every single employee is engaged. And yeah, this isn't some quick fix. It's a huge cultural shift.
And look, the payoffs here are real, they're tangible. We're not just talking about warm, fuzzy feelings. This is about stuff you can actually measure. I mean, when your product is super reliable, what happens? You get customers who keep coming back. When you cut out all the waste, things get done faster and cheaper. And the best part, it's all backed by data, which builds you a competitive edge that's really tough for anyone else to copy. Okay, that all sounds amazing, right? But here's the big question. If TQM is so great, why do so many companies try it and just fail? So in our second section, let's get real about where it all goes wrong. We're going to look at the most common roadblocks. All right, get ready, because this is the #1 killer of any TQM initiative. Seriously. In a perfect world, you've got your executives out front, championing quality, throwing resources at it, and pointing everyone in the right direction. But the reality? For way too many companies, it's just a leadership void. There's nothing there. And without that support from the very top, the whole thing is basically starved of oxygen before it can even take its first breath.
And here's another big one, strategic drift. The idea is that your quality goals should be baked right into your main company strategy. But what really happens? You get these fuzzy, vague goals with no deadlines, and they have nothing to do with what the business is actually trying to achieve. So the whole thing just wanders around with no purpose until everyone forgets about it.
And you know what's crazy? These things often pile up and create like a perfect storm of failure. You've got people who don't have the right training, then there's no money in the budget to actually train them. On top of that, everyone's obsessed with this quarter's profits, so long-term quality gets pushed aside. And the final nail in the coffin, your employees have just given up because they feel like nobody's listening to them anyway.
Okay, so that's all pretty bleak, right? That's the problem. So how do we actually fix it? Let's get into section 3, where we're going to build the breakthrough blueprint. This is the actionable path to actually making TQM work.
Any comeback story has to start at the top. So, step 1, ignite visible leadership. Your execs need to be out there, publicly, saying over and over again that quality is a top priority. And right on its heels comes step 2, drive change through communication. You got to be super clear about the why, explain it in meetings, in emails, everywhere. The goal is to turn that "oh, here we go again" skepticism into, okay, tell me more.
Okay, next up, you have to give people the tools and make this whole thing official. Step 3 is all about upskilling your teams. Get them trained on practical tools like PDCA, that's Plan, Do, Check, Act, so they can actually solve problems. Then, and this is absolutely critical, comes step 4. You have to embed TQM into your strategic plan. Quality goals can't be an afterthought. They need to be a non-negotiable part of your annual plan, with a real budget and someone who's clearly in charge.
So how do you prove any of this is actually working? Well, you have to measure it. It's that simple. If you want people to believe in this, you need clear, hard numbers. Tracking your defect rate is a fantastic example. It's simple, it's powerful, and it tells a story that no one can argue with. You can see right there if what you're doing is paying off. All right, the last 2 pieces of this puzzle are all about building momentum from the ground up. Step 5 is a big one. Foster collaboration and empowerment. You've got to give your frontline teams the power to make small changes on their own. Then, step 6 is where you get smart about it. Pilot, measure, and scale. Don't try to boil the ocean. Start with one small, low-risk project. Prove that it works, get some results, and then use that success story to get buy-in for a much bigger rollout.
You know, when you boil it all down, the most important thing is this huge cultural shift, which this quote just nails. You're aiming for a place where quality becomes everyone's daily responsibility, not a managerial slogan. When it's not just the quality department's job, but something every single person owns every single day, that's when you know you've really, truly made it.
Okay, let's bring this all together in our final section. From plan to payoff. Because here's the thing, when you actually follow this blueprint, you're doing so much more than just tweaking a process. You're building a real, sustainable, competitive advantage that can last for years.
And this is the ultimate prize. This is what it's all about. The real payoff is getting to a point where the principles of TQM are just part of your company's DNA. It's instinct, it's automatic. That's what fuels genuine innovation, makes you more agile, and builds a rock-solid reputation for being the best. It's that magic moment when quality isn't some special initiative anymore. It's just how we do things around here. So, to help you make this real, right now, here's a super practical 90-day action plan. First, figure out what's holding you back. Audit your barriers. Second, go get that visible sponsorship from your leadership. Third, get some training on the calendar for your teams. Fourth, launch one small manageable pilot project. And fifth, and don't forget this, publish those early results to get people excited and build some trust.
So there you have it. We've talked about the big promise, the all-too-common pitfalls, and the blueprint to actually get it right. So I want to leave you with one final thought to bring this all back down to you, personally. We've established that quality is everyone's job. So the real question is, what's one small thing you can do tomorrow to start moving that needle? Because that's where the real breakthrough begins.